At 17, she lost the only person who truly made life bearable. She thought her world had ended forever, until love found her again in the most unexpected way. Sometimes pain does not begin with one terrible day. Sometimes it begins quietly, years before anyone notices. Her pain started when she was only 5 years old. That was the age she was sent to live with her aunt. At first, she thought it was temporary. She thought maybe she would return home after a few days, maybe a few weeks. She was too young to understand what was really happening. Days became weeks, weeks became months, months became years, and before she knew it, 6 years of her life had disappeared inside that house. Every morning, while children her age were still asleep, dreaming peacefully, she was already awake. 5 o'clock, that was the time her day always began. No excuses, no complaints, no rest. The moment she opened her eyes, she had to move. Sweep the compound, clean the sitting room, arrange the chairs, dust every corner, then rush to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. Not for herself, for her aunt's children. She would boil water, prepare tea, arrange bread, wash plates, and set everything properly. After that, she would go into their rooms. Wake up. It's morning. Sometimes they refused. Sometimes they cried. Sometimes they shouted at her. But she still had to get them ready. She bathed them, dressed them, combed their hair, packed their lunch boxes, served their breakfast, and stood there waiting until they finished eating. Only when everything was done was she allowed to prepare herself for school. By then, time was already gone. She would rush, wear her uniform quickly, carry her school bag, and start trekking to school. No one ever dropped her off. No one cared if she was tired. No one cared if she was late. And most days she arrived around 8:30, late, breathless, exhausted. Her classmates would already be seated. Sometimes the teacher would stare at her. "You're late again?" She would lower her head. "Yes, Ma." Why? She never answered. What could she say? That while other children were sleeping, she had already cleaned an entire house. She was feeding other people's children. Who would understand? So she remained silent, and silence became her closest friend. When school ended around 4 in the evening, she would trek home again. No rest, no food first, no break. Immediately she entered the house, another shift began. Remove her aunt's children's uniforms, bathe them, serve them lunch, wash their clothes, clean their school shoes, wash their lunch boxes, help them with homework. By the time she finished all of that, it was already 6 o'clock. Then she would go back into the kitchen. Her aunt would already be there. "Why are you slow? Come and help me." "Yes, Auntie." She would cut vegetables, wash ingredients, stir pots, serve food, and after everyone had eaten, she washed all the plates again, cleaned the dining table, arranged everything. Sometimes when she finally looked at the clock, it was already 10 at night. That was when she slept, and in a few hours it would begin again, over and over. For 6 years, she had no time for herself, no time to study, no time to play, no time to be a child. Even Saturdays brought no peace, more cleaning, more errands, more work. And if her aunt needed anything from outside, no matter the time, she had to go. Even 10 o'clock at night. "Auntie, it's dark. Didn't you hear what I said? Go and buy it." "Yes, Auntie." She would run outside alone, afraid but obedient. That was her life until she turned 11, and then one day she was sent back to her family. For the first time in years, hope entered her heart. She was going home, home. That word sounded warm, safe, beautiful. She imagined love, rest, acceptance. And when she arrived, she was welcomed warmly. For a moment she believed life was finally changing. But as the weeks passed, another problem appeared. Sophia could cook only simple meals, white rice, noodles, boiled yam. She did not know how to prepare stew or many proper meals expected of a girl her age. No one had taught her. Still, her mother and brothers could not understand. One evening, while she stood in the kitchen struggling with a pot, one of her brothers laughed. "You're this big and you cannot cook." Another added, "You lived with your aunt for 6 years and still cannot cook properly?" Their mother shook her head in disappointment. "A girl your age should know better." The words hit her chest like stones. Then it became worse. They began calling her names, dangerous names, cruel names. "You are strange. You are in some spiritual kingdom. You are a witch. You have bad behavior." At first, she thought they were joking. But they said it so often that she began to wonder if they believed it. And when enough people tell a child she is evil, part of her begins to ask if maybe they are right. Many nights she cried silently. She buried her face in her pillow and wept. Then her father would come. He always knew when she was crying. He would sit beside her gently and call her by his late mother's name, because Sophia looked so much like her. That name always softened her heart. "Why are you crying?" She would wipe her face quickly. "Nothing, Daddy." He would lift her chin. "Look at me." And when she looked into his eyes, she saw something rare. Belief. He believed in her. He would wipe her tears himself. "Stop crying. Learn from correction, but never believe every bad thing people say. You can become better. I will teach you." And somehow hearing those words made everything lighter. He taught her patiently, corrected her softly, encouraged her, and because of him, she endured. One day, when she was very sick during her period, she lay weakly on the bed, vomiting. Her body burned with fever. One of her brothers walked in and frowned. "Why is she pretending?" Then he looked at their mother. "She's probably pregnant. She has many boyfriends." Her chest tightened. She could not even defend herself. Tears slipped down her face. Then her father entered. "What nonsense is that?" The room fell silent. "She is sick." He sat beside her immediately. He placed a wet towel on her forehead. He fed her carefully. Every few minutes he asked, "Evelyn, how are you feeling now?" That night, he stayed close until she slept, and as she drifted into sleep, she thought the same thing she had thought many times before. "As long as Daddy is here, I will be okay." But life can be cruel, cruel enough to take away the one person holding everything together. The morning it happened began like every other morning. Nothing felt unusual. Her father, mother, and immediate elder brother were preparing to leave for the hospital. When she stepped into the corridor and saw them, she asked casually, "Where are you going?" Her father had already reached the gate. Then he paused, turned back, walked all the way to her, and smiled. "I'm going for a checkup." Then his face softened. "Take care of yourself." She nodded. "Okay, Daddy." He touched her shoulder gently. Then he left. She watched him walk away. She did not know she had just seen him for the last time. If this story is touching your heart already, pause for a second and like this video. And if you've ever lost someone who meant the world to you, share your story in the comments. Someone out there may need your words tonight. Hours later, the gate opened again. Her mother entered. Her brother entered. But her father was not with them. And suddenly her heart began to pound. She stood up quickly. "Where is Daddy?" No one answered. "Is he still at the hospital?" Her mother burst into tears. Fear gripped her throat. Her voice trembled. "No, no. Tell me he's fine." Her mother cried harder. Her brother looked away. And in that moment she knew. But she still whispered, "No, please." "Not Daddy." Her breathing became uneven. Her hands trembled. She looked from her mother to her brother, searching their faces for hope, for anything that would tell her she was wrong. Then her brother finally spoke. "Daddy is gone." The world stopped. She stared at him, her lips parted, but no sound came out. No, that was impossible. She had spoken to him that morning. He had looked into her eyes. He had told her to take care of herself. How could a man who was alive just hours ago suddenly be gone? No, she whispered. Her voice was small and broken. No, you're lying. No one answered. Her mother's cries filled the room. Still she shook her head. No, Daddy cannot die. Not my daddy. Then her brother said it again, slowly this time, each word cutting through her like a knife. He is dead. Something inside her shattered. A cry escaped her lips, loud and raw. It was the kind of cry that came from deep inside the soul. The kind of cry that could only come from losing everything. She fell to the floor. Tears poured endlessly. Her body shook violently. She screamed his name again and again. Daddy! No answer came. Only silence. Cold, cruel silence. That night she did not sleep. She sat on the floor staring at the wall. Her mind replayed his last words. Take care of yourself. Why had he said that? Did he know? Had he somehow known he was leaving? She wanted to believe this was a nightmare. She wanted to wake up and hear his footsteps again. To hear him call her Evelyn. To feel his hand wiping her tears. But morning came and he was still gone. The days that followed were torture. People filled the house. Voices everywhere, crying. Whispers, prayers. But all she could hear was the sound of her own heartbreak. Sometimes she would sit quietly and stare at the gate. Part of her believed he would walk in. He would smile and say there had been a mistake. That he was back. That everything was fine. But he never came, and each hour made the truth heavier. Her father was gone forever. She stopped eating properly, stopped speaking, stopped caring. The world had lost its color. One afternoon, she opened her school bag slowly and brought out a sheet of paper. Then she picked up a pen. Her hand shook as she began to write. It was the first letter she had ever written to God. Her tears dropped onto the page as she wrote. God, you brought Lazarus back to life. Please bring my father back, please. I need him. I cannot live without him. He is the only one who loves me. He is the only one who understands me. Please bring him back. She paused, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. Then pain turned to anger, and she wrote again. If you do not bring him back, I will join bad gangs. I will become a bad person. Because you allowed death to take away my whole world. When she finished, she folded the letter carefully and hid it. She believed somehow God would see it. She waited. One day passed, then 2, then 3. Nothing happened. Her father did not return. The silence from heaven hurt more than anything. Then one evening, her immediate elder brother entered her room holding the letter. Her eyes widened. He had found it. He sat down and looked at her quietly. Then he asked, You wrote this? She lowered her head. Tears filled her eyes again. Yes. He was silent for a moment, then he spoke softly. If Daddy were alive, do you think he would want this? She looked up. Her chest tightened. He continued. Would he want you to become worse? Would he want you to join bad gangs? Would he want to see his daughter become someone he never raised her to be? Her lips trembled. No. He nodded. Then why are you doing this? The room fell silent, and for the first time since her father's death, she thought clearly. Her brother's words broke through her pain. She imagined her father looking at her, disappointed, heartbroken. That thought crushed her. She reached for the letter, but her brother pulled it back. It's better this disappears, he said quietly. He would not want this. She searched for it later but never found it. Instead, she knelt down and prayed through tears. God, forgive me. Daddy, forgive me too. I was angry. I was broken. I didn't mean it. That night, for the first time in many weeks, she cried differently. Not from rage, not from denial, but from surrender. Her father was truly gone. and somehow she had to keep living. His burial came and went like a blur. People said life would go on, but she could not imagine how. How could life continue when the one person who made it bearable was gone? She moved through each day like a shadow, smiling when necessary, speaking when forced. But inside, she was drowning. Then one day she met him. At first he seemed ordinary, just another young man. Nothing about him suggested he would change her life. But slowly something shifted. He noticed how easily she cried, how quickly loneliness entered her eyes, how even when she smiled, sadness still lived underneath. One evening he asked gently, "What happened to you?" She tried to brush it off. "Nothing." He looked at her carefully. "That isn't true." She was quiet. He waited. And finally, she told him everything. About her aunt, about the years of endless work, about how she had returned home at 11 and was welcomed warmly by her family, only for things to slowly change when her mother and brothers became frustrated that she could not cook properly like other girls her age, about the cruel words that followed, about her father, about how he always called her by his mother's name because she looked so much like the woman who had raised him, about losing him, about the letter to God, about how empty life had felt ever since. When she finished, tears streamed down her face. She expected pity. Instead, he simply reached for her hand and held it. "You've been carrying this alone for too long," he said. Something inside her broke open. She cried harder than she had cried in months, and he stayed. He did not interrupt, did not judge, did not try to fix everything with empty words. He simply stayed, and sometimes that is the purest kind of love. After that, he changed. He became more careful with her heart. When she was sad, he noticed. When she cried, he listened. When fear returned, he reassured her. He learned her silence, learned her pain, learned the hidden parts of her heart no one else had cared enough to understand, and slowly she began to heal. It was not immediate. Healing never is. There were still difficult days. Days she missed her father so much she could barely breathe. Days she remembered his voice and cried. Days she wished he could come back just once, if only to tell her he was proud. And on those days the young man would remind her softly, "He would be proud of you." Sometimes she asked through tears, "How do you know?" And he would smile, "Because I can see the kind of woman he raised." Those words always reached the places pain had touched deepest. Years passed. Their love was tested many times. There were misunderstandings, arguments, moments when walking away would have been easier, but neither of them gave up because what they had built was real. For 8 years they stayed together. 8 years of choosing each other again and again. Then finally they got married. On her wedding day, as she stood dressed beautifully surrounded by celebration, one thought filled her heart. Daddy should be here. Tears filled her eyes. For a moment, the pain returned as sharply as the day she lost him. Then she remembered his last words, "Take care of yourself." And suddenly she understood. This was what he meant. He had prepared her for life after him. He had planted enough love inside her to survive his absence. And somehow, through all the darkness, that love had guided her to this moment. Later, when she held her children for the first time, she cried again. Because she wished her father could see them, could carry them, could smile that proud smile, and call her by his mother's name one more time. But deep inside she believed he knew. She believed somehow he could see the life she had built, the life his love had helped create. Sometimes loss feels like the end. Sometimes grief convinces us nothing good can come again, but sometimes love returns, not to replace what was lost, but to remind us that what was lost still lives inside us. And if this story touched your heart, don't leave without subscribing, liking this video, and sharing your thoughts in the comments. Because someone out there may be grieving tonight, believing their world has ended. Maybe this story will remind them that even when a world dies, love can still find its way back again. And somewhere beyond what eyes can see, a father's voice still whispers, "Take care of yourself, the end."